gotta face the east.
Where
you know where the east at? Going towards downtown.
What you gonna do to him, dude?
Hey, Gucci.
Man, that dude be high as shit.
You know where the east at? That motherfucker faces downtown, beloved.
This nigga retarded. Well, protect me from my so-called friends, so I can kill my own enemies. 9 times out of 10, the ops ain't gonna kill shit. Be their own homies, snaked out. I peep that shit.
Just a few days after walking out of prison, it seemed like a prophecy when Don Da Cheeks warned not just his fans, but everyone who cared to listen about the real danger lurking in his circle. Not his enemies, not rival gangs, but his own friends who he'd grown up with, the ones he'd taken bullets for and slept in the same beds with during countless nights on Chicago's West Side. And on June 29, 2024, his prophecy came true in the most brutal way imaginable when those same friends stood in a circle around him and watched him get executed without lifting a finger to help. But here's what makes this story even more disturbing. This wasn't some random act of violence, but rather a calculated, planned, and possibly sanctioned execution. What led to Nico's death that night wasn't a beef with rival gangs or a drug deal gone wrong, but pure, toxic jealousy from the people closest to him over his success after getting out of prison, the money he was making, the women who wanted him, the respect he'd earned on the streets. And it all started with a fight at a class reunion over another man's baby mama.
What else you want?
Just an apple.
Get my kids. Y'all give me some love. I love y'all.
Love you too. Did I?
Yeah.
Can you give me a 15 tomorrow?
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna get you a new phone too, okay?
I want a 15.
On the 15 like me?
Yeah.
Got you, okay?
Tomorrow.
35-year-old Nico DeMarcus O'Neill Whitehead, known on the streets as Cheeks Da Don, was born January 5, 1989 in one of Chicago's most violent neighborhoods, where West Garfield Park and Humboldt Park were his stomping grounds, specifically the intersection of Chicago Avenue and Trumbull, which was Motown Vice Lord territory. Nico's body told the story of his allegiance before he ever opened his mouth, with full-body tattoos covering his skin, including 5-point Vice Lord stars, stacks of money, pyramids symbolizing wealth and power, the words Da Don sprawled across his abs, and Cheeks in cursive across his chest. He attended Morton Elementary, moved on to Esmond Middle School, and eventually Morgan Park High School, but the streets had already claimed him long before any diploma could offer an alternative path forward.
Money game, bitch, we worldwide. Bitch, I feel real, ayy. Been on fucking Gia, bad bitch with dumb chicks and all she do is eat. Never change on the game, cause that's how I beat her. I'm so 100, I don't know how to beat her. If a nigga play, I spray that fucking gay. Touching on my back around the gang, cause I don't play. So 100, nigga, I don't play. If I don't know you, I don't wanna know you, I don't.
By his teenage years, Nico had aligned himself with the Traveler Vice Lords, a major faction of the almighty Vice Lord Nation, Chicago's second largest gang with an estimated 30,000 to 35,000 members. And more specifically, he ran with the Wild Bunch Money Gang, a TVL subset that controlled the Chicago and Trumbull blocks, and focused not just on violence, but on money, hustling, and surviving while making something out of nothing in a place where nothing was all most people would ever have. Nico became known as an OG enforcer, someone who stood on business, as they say, in the streets, running missions against rival gangs and building a reputation through fear and loyalty. He became someone who rode for homies who couldn't, according to street accounts, making him the kind of guy who had your back no matter what. And that loyalty extended beyond gang life into his personal world, where Nico was a father to 2 young children, a son named Baby Nico and a daughter named Arianique. His wife Shawnquise stood by him through everything alongside his mother Kimmy Whitehead, his father Ashwan Cody, his grandfather William Nevels, and his 5 siblings who all formed the family structure that kept him grounded even as he navigated the chaos of gang life. And while he was deeply embedded in the streets, Nico also tried to build something legitimate by starting Another Level Clothing Inc., a streetwear business, while pursuing a career as a rapper, creating drill music that reflected his authentic experiences, and even acting in local Chicago hood films, bringing that same authenticity to the screen. His rap persona as Cheeks Da Don was built on Instagram Lives, where he'd sip lean from double cups, flash expensive Rolex watches, and deliver bars about standing tall and staying loyal to your circle. Zach TV featured him in interviews, amplifying his voice in Chicago's drill scene, even as his profile grew and he faced the consequences that came with living that life. In 2018, federal authorities indicted Nico in the Northern District of Illinois on charges that included possession with intent to distribute narcotics and using a firearm in furtherance of drug trafficking across 3 separate counts. He was detained without bond under Judge Kennelly, and he spent the next several years in federal prison. But according to people who served time with him, Nico was solid because he didn't snitch and he didn't switch up, with one person on Reddit writing, "Everything's good with him being solid," confirming Nico's reputation as a stand-up guy even behind bars. When Nico was released from federal custody around late 2023, he walked out with a glow-up that immediately caught attention. He had money flowing in, women wanted him, and he was prioritizing his family and his businesses, looking like someone who had beaten the system and come out on top. But that success bred something ugly in the people around him. It bred envy, jealousy, and resentment that festered beneath the surface, and Nico felt it building around him like a storm he couldn't escape. In an Instagram Live that would later be overlaid on the video of Nico's murder, Nico spoke directly about what he was sensing from the people closest to him when he said,
Well, protect me from my so-called friends, so I can get my own enemy. 9 times out of 10, the ops ain't gonna kill shit. Be their own homies, snaked out, stay the fuck away from around me, fake ass niggas.
He literally warned people that his anxiety was through the roof because he could see the snakes in his own circle, and that the real threat wasn't the ops or rival gangs, but the people who called themselves his friends. These weren't casual statements, but genuine expressions of fear of not getting caught in a shootout with rival gang members, since he'd survived plenty of those, but of betrayal from within his own circle. And based on what happened next, he had every reason to be afraid. On the night of June 29, 2024, at around 11:10 p.m., Nico attended a class reunion kickback at 3300 West Franklin Boulevard in Humboldt Park, which was supposed to be a celebration. It was a chance to reconnect with people from the neighborhood, old friends and familiar faces, the kind of event where you'd expect to feel safe surrounded by your own people. But tensions had been simmering beneath the surface, and according to multiple accounts, the incident started over a woman, specifically the baby mama of a childhood friend, a sandbox homie as they're called in the streets, someone Nico had known his entire life and who should have been untouchable in terms of crossing those lines. But according to street rumors, Nico had gotten involved with this man's baby mama, and that disrespect ignited something that probably had been building for a while, leading to a fight that would change everything. A fight broke out between the two men, one-on-one, and by all accounts, Nico won, dominating the physical altercation despite being heavily intoxicated on lean, the codeine-based drink that's become synonymous with Chicago's rap scene. And in his impaired state, he made a fatal mistake when, while pulling out his gun, he accidentally shot himself in the leg, and that self-inflicted wound left him vulnerable as his gun was snatched away and the beating began, with video footage showing Nico on the ground being pistol-whipped repeatedly while blood pooled around his leg from the gunshot wound. And surrounding him in a tight circle are 8 to 12 men wearing bright orange shirts who weren't strangers, weren't rival gang members, but were his friends, fellow Traveler Vice Lords and Wild Bunch Money Gang members, people he'd ridden with for years and trusted with his life, yet not a single one of them moved to help him as he lay there bleeding and vulnerable.
Okay, I know he was sitting there like, damn, is these niggas gonna really try to kill me?
Man, he's sitting, man, when he getting hit, he looking like, damn, y'all.
Looking like,
it's like that look like, damn, y'all ain't finna stop this shit. Like, what the?
In the 59-second clip, you can see Nico writhing on the ground, clearly in pain and vulnerable, while one person in an orange shirt casually walks away mid-beating and others just stand there frozen. Some of them appeared to be high on drugs themselves, perks and lean rendering them useless in a moment when their brother needed them most. And then at around the 37-second mark, everything changes when a man in a dark hoodie steps forward from the crowd and approaches Nico calmly, almost casually, with no hesitation or moment of doubt as he stands directly over Nico's body and fires multiple shots at point-blank range. 2 to 4 bullets tear into Nico's head and torso as his body jerks violently with each impact before going still. In the aftermath, as Nico lies dying on the pavement, you can hear someone in the crowd yell, "Huno," not asking if Nico's okay, but asking if the shooter is good, telling him to leave, to get away, to go home before the police arrive. The group scatters as some run and others walk casually as if nothing happened, while approximately 20 shell casings were found at the scene, suggesting either multiple weapons were fired or the shooter emptied his clip to make sure Nico was dead.
Police are investigating a deadly shooting on the city's west side. Officers tell us they were called to the area near Franklin and Spalding for a report of a person shot. That's when they say they found a 35-year-old man who had been shot several times. The victim was taken to a hospital where he later died. It's still not known who fired the shots.
Nico was rushed to Stroger Hospital, but he was pronounced dead on arrival at 35 years old, leaving behind his role as a father, a husband, and a son, all of it gone in an instant. Now, here's what makes this story even more disturbing. The shooter wasn't even the person Nico had fought with. According to sources who were there, the shooter was an outsider to the original beef, someone who saw an opportunity and took it, which raises the question of whether this was a spontaneous act of violence or something that had been planned in advance. Street rumors immediately pointed to a setup based on the theory that Nico's post-prison success had made him a target within his own gang. This was because of the money he was making through his clothing business and rob career, the women who were attracted to his newfound status, and the respect he commanded on the blocks he'd held down for years, all of which bred resentment among people who felt they deserved that same success but hadn't achieved it.
Yeah, that royalty was different.
Yeah.
That royalty was different. With
Dude
50
them
and all
came
them.
through that shoot.
I remember
Yeah,
they was
it's out
like,
there.
Hey,
look,
it
I'll
wasn't
never
even
forget, we was
no
out there shooting
traveling.
dice. They like, man, this nigga just got some money. He trying to flip everybody royal.
He
All the
flipping
shorties
everybody.
going for that shit.
All the shorties was royal. It wasn't even no travelers gang.
He flipped all them
He
motherfuckers.
flipped all them niggas.
He
and
say
was
all
coming.
the shorties going. He like, I ain't gonna lie, all the shorties going for that shit.
My
Shorties
mama.
got some millions. He just flipped everybody.
Bro,
He
them
just
niggas
wanted to
slept in
show.
bed together, bro. Them niggas slept in bed together, you hear me?
The person who pistol-whipped Nico wasn't some distant associate, but someone Nico had shared intimate spaces with, someone he trusted completely, and that person participated in his murder, which speaks to the depth of the betrayal. The fact that nobody helped Nico has been explained through several factors, starting with the reality that many people at that reunion were intoxicated on lean and Percocet, rendering them too impaired to react quickly.
Well, them people did some shit, bro. It was all off them. A lot of motherfuckers wasn't going for that shit. Because if he couldn't flip them,
And beyond the intoxication, there's the no snitching code that governs gang culture, meaning even if someone wanted to help, intervening would mean going against whatever internal decision had been made about Nico's fate. Third, and perhaps most importantly, there's speculation that this was a sanctioned hit within the Wild Bunch money gang, with jealousy over Nico's success leading to a collective decision that he needed to be removed.
I just don't believe they ain't had no guns. I can't believe
Man,
that
them
shit,
niggas had
bro.
one pipe gang. They ain't had no guns out there, boy.
How?
And they usually had all type of shit.
All type of shit,
They
blood.
ain't had no guns out there, boy. That's how you know some crazy shit going on, boy. They ain't had no pipes.
This meant that the usual security measures that would be in place at a gang gathering were suspiciously absent that night, since no one was strapped except the person who killed Nico, suggesting the scene had been deliberately set for what was about to happen. The video of Nico's murder spread like wildfire across social media after it was posted to X, formerly Twitter. The overwhelming response was one of shock and outrage as people asked how so many people could just stand there and watch, how people who called themselves his brothers could let him die like that.
We all the guys though. Why ain't nobody trying to stop it though?
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Y'all could at least stop the gang. Y'all just watch that shit.
Pointing out that with hundreds of people at this reunion, including Nico's supposed friends and gang brothers, someone should have intervened. And the fact that no one did speaks to a level of coordination or at least collective agreement that Nico's death was acceptable. Chicago Police Department's Area 4 detectives were assigned to investigate the murder, but as of today, over 18 months after Nico's death, no arrests have been made, nor have suspects been publicly named, leaving the case unsolved, largely due to the street code of silence that prevents witnesses from cooperating with law enforcement. In gang culture, talking to police is seen as the ultimate betrayal, often resulting in retaliation that can be just as deadly as the original crime. But while the official investigation has stalled, the streets have their own form of justice, with rumors of retaliation circulating since Nico's death.
Baby mama just come to my DM and said, everybody right there gonna pay.
Everybody right there. I told you it was all travelers right there, bro. That's why.
She just came my DM and said, everybody that was right there gonna pay.
Hey, bro, they be doing it. They been doing it.
When little cheese get home, motherfuckers better get up out of there.
Nah, yeah, he ain't going for that shit.
Folks finna make some examples. Folks don't play about his brother, folk. And Big Cheeks ain't play about Little Cheeks.
Lil Cheese, who is presumably Nico's younger brother or close associate, is apparently incarcerated and expected to seek revenge upon his release, making the implication clear that Nico's death will not go unanswered. What makes this case particularly significant is how it fits into the broader pattern of violence within Chicago's drill rap and gang culture, with Nico's story mirroring other high-profile cases like the murder of Akeem 051 Melly in 2019. Melly, like Nico, was killed at a social gathering and allegedly set up by people in his inner circle rather than rival gang members. Both cases remain unsolved, both involve betrayal by supposed friends, and both highlight how jealousy and internal gang politics can be just as deadly as external beefs, creating a pattern that's impossible to ignore. Chicago's drill scene has lost numerous artists to this cycle of violence, including FBG Duck, King Von, and Lil Durk's associates like Newski and Capo, all killed in gang-related shootings, while the city averages over 600 homicides per year, with gang violence accounting for a significant portion of those deaths. And the public nature of these conflicts, played out on social media and in diss tracks, has created an environment where perception and reputation can literally be matters of life and death, making survival dependent not just on avoiding your enemies, but on correctly identifying who your real enemies are. Nico's funeral, held in September 2024 at D. Johnson Funeral Home, drew thousands of mourners as his casket was adorned with a gold crown, symbolizing his status in the community, and his wife Shanqui kissed the casket goodbye. Doves were released into the sky while his children were left fatherless, and his family was left to grieve not just the loss of a loved one, but the manner in which he was taken from them, betrayed by the people he'd trusted most. The viral nature of Nico's death has turned him into a cautionary tale, a symbol of what happens when loyalty breaks down in environments where it's supposed to be everything, with his prophetic warnings about fake friends being quoted and shared countless times, often alongside the footage of his murder, creating a narrative that's impossible to ignore. In Chicago's gang culture, sometimes your biggest threat isn't your enemy, but the person sleeping in the bed next to you, the person you'd take a bullet for, the person you grew up with and trusted with your life. And that's the lesson that Nico's death teaches in the most brutal way possible. What do you think about this devastating case? Let me know in the comment section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.